Shalom, everybody. Welcome to another installation of I-365, Learning Hebrew through the book of Genesis. Glad that you're able to join me today, and very, very happy that you continue to join me and all the other 9 classes of Israel 365 that we're doing, learning various things through the book of Genesis. So we've been enjoying a good several weeks of learning Hebrew through Genesis. And today, like every other time that we've been getting together, we have 6 different words that you are going to be learning today that say a lot about Jewish practice, Jewish language. So let's begin with the very first one. The very first notation is Genesis 37:2, at the very beginning of the portion of the week called Vayeshev, which literally means and he sat or he dwelled. And this is talking about Jacob. And we're going to get into the first installment of several Torah portions that deal with the Joseph narrative. I think there are about 4 or 5, all the way till the end of the book of Genesis. We will be dealing with the Joseph story. So Genesis 37:2, it says, "These are the generations of Jacob when Joseph was 17 years old, being a shepherd, etc., etc." So this is all coming, again, like I said, the next several Torah portions are going to be all about Joseph, or in Hebrew, Yosef. So that's the word I highlighted in English and also in Hebrew, the word Yosef at the very top of that Hebrew square. And the word Yosef literally means will add, will increase. So let's take a look at the other words I wrote there in English. Lahosif. Lahosif is Hebrew for to add on, to increase. Hosafa. Hosafa is something that is added, something that is increased. I also wrote there the word tosafot. Now, tosafot can mean additions. For example, you are in Israel and you order a burger, and they will say to you, "Ata rotze, would you like? At rotza, would you like?" to a female. Tosafot, would you like additions? Which means, do you want more stuff? Like, do you want French fries, onion rings, and all those other kinds of things? Do you want something to drink? Do you want a this? Do you want a that? Those are all called tosafot. Again, from the word Yosef, lahosif, to add on, to increase. So, the word tosafot also refers to a group of commentaries that are the grandchildren of the great Torah commentary Rashi, which I often refer to, the French commentator from about 950 years ago. And his grandchildren have, on every page of the Talmud, they have a side commentary, which is called the Tosafot, literally the additions. These are additions to Rashi and to the other commentaries that are printed on the page of Talmud. The last thing I wrote in that box in English was the words Mosif v'holech. So in the Talmud, regarding Hanukkah, which for the Jewish community begins Thursday night and lasts for the next 8 days, regarding Hanukkah, there is a debate in the Talmud about how do you light the Hanukkah lights. So the house of Shammai, greatly known in the 100s CE of the Common Era, the house of Shammai says, you know how you light them? You go from 8 the first night, 7 the second night, 6 the third night, 5 the fourth night, so on and so forth. And then you end up with one shining candle. The house of Hillel says, no, we don't do that. And it's actually what we practice today. We start at 1, light 2, then 3, then 4, and we increase each and every night. So the words in English, Mosif v'holech, is Hillel's way of saying we increase, we add on another one each and every night. So now the question becomes, why was Joseph called Yosef? Why is his Hebrew name Yosef? So it actually says it in Genesis 30:23-24. When Rachel gives birth to Joseph, she says, Yosef Hashem li ben acher. She says, God will add to me another child. So Yosef, God will add to me another child. which means that after Joseph is born, she anticipates another child who is going to be Binyamin or Benjamin. So that's a reason she stated why he's called Yosef. Ultimately, God will add another child to this child that I'm having, whose name is Yosef. So his very name indicates a prayer of the future, about the future. I hopefully will have another child. I was wondering about this. Why is he called Yosef? Add on, or to increase. We get the sense that with the birth of Joseph, Jacob, his father, kind of gets a new lease on life. And for the next X amount of years, even though Joseph and the narrative and the brothers and selling him and the trial with Potiphar's wife and all of that comes up is going to be a lot of anguish and pain for the father Jacob. We do know that the birth of Yosef, to add on to increase, that the birth of Yosef really added on and increased the years of Jacob. So maybe that could be another reason why he is called Yosef, besides what his mother Rachel says is the reason that he was called Yosef. He added years to the life of his elderly father Jacob or Yaakov. Now let's take a look at the next one, Genesis 37:3. And it says, "And Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, because he was a son of his old age." It's kind of what I just said. He was a son of his old age, meaning he became reinvigorated, re-inspired, reconnected, re-energized with this child of an old age. That's pretty good. And he made him a fine woolen coat. He made him a fine woolen coat. And it says there in the Hebrew, I highlighted the words for that, ketonet pasim. In those two words, ketonet pasim, which means a striped garment, it doesn't include the word for woolen, but it says that ketonet pasim is a striped garment. So in that square, I wrote ketonet pasim, a coat of stripes. I wrote the word pas, which is Hebrew for a stripe. If you're traveling around in Israel and you get to a crosswalk, you might see the words pasim. In other words, be mindful of the fact that there is a crossword here. There are stripes, in a sense, to let you know, to let people go first into the crosswalk, and then you can continue driving. And I also wrote the words pasei ha'ata, and these are stripes to let you notice to slow down in your average street. Basically, it's a speed bump. Pasei ha'ata means to tell you there's a speed bump here. It's not that noticeable, but once you go on the speed bump, it becomes quite noticeable. So again, that it uses that word, a stripe. It's a speed bump, and it's a stripe that is used to slow you down. Now, the word pasim, as you see, I wrote there in that square, P-S-Y-M, pasim, is also an acronym for something. It's a true Hebrew word, pasim, stripes, but it's also an acronym. The coat or the garment of stripes that Joseph wore, right, the Technicolor dream coat, how many of you saw that play or the movie? Pasim is an acronym, meaning that the first letters, the letters of P, S, Y, M, pasim, is an acronym in Hebrew. So the letter P, the P, stands for the regime of Persia, not present-day Persia, but way back then during the Hanukkah story. The S stands for Syria, which also goes back to, the Persia goes back to the Purim story, the story of Purim and Esther and Mordecai. The S goes back to the regime of Syria, and the Y, Yavan, in Hebrew, or Greece. The Syrian Greeks were the oppressors of the Jewish people during the Hanukkah story. And the M, or the Mem, is Mitzrayim, Egypt. So basically, we have the word pasim as an acronym in Hebrew for Persia, Syria, Greece, and Egypt. And you say, that's very interesting, Elon, but what's that got to do with anything? And here's the connection. The connection is that when when Jacob gives this coat of stripes of many colors to his son Joseph, he is giving him a code, not a coat, but also a code. And what is that code? That code is there to remind him, with the letters of Pasim reminding us of Persia, Syria, Greece, Egypt. These are all regimes that oppressed and tyrannized the Jewish people at different times of our history. The father Jacob is saying, by giving him this coat of Pasim, of stripes, he is telling him that and it's a message to all of us, all the Jewish people and beyond, if the brothers can't get along, which unfortunately they didn't get along. Joseph and his brothers, until like the last two Torah portions of Genesis, they did not get along. There was hatred towards Joseph and his dreams and his wanting to appear like he's above everybody else. He's even better than all the other brothers. Jacob wanted to give him this coat to give a hint as a code that if the brothers can't get along, this sibling hatred will spiritually open the door to oppression and subjugation, persecution, and tyranny over the Jews. So it's a lovely coat. It's got stripes, it's got many colors, but Jacob wants Joseph and the rest of Jewish history to know that when brothers can't get along, when there's hatred from one to the other, brothers, sisters, it opens the door spiritually to the tyranny and the oppression of the Jewish people. It's a great, great lesson for the Jewish people and beyond. So if you see that things are not going well for one's religion or one's faith, we have to look inside that faith and see what's going on, what's causing things to happen spiritually to that faith. Okay, here's the third notation, Genesis 37:13. And Israel said to Joseph, Israel became another name for Jacob when he fought the angel of Esau in last week's Torah portion, and he prevailed. And Israel said to Joseph, are your brothers not pasturing in Shechem, called today, in modern day Arabic, I think, Nablus. Nablus. We call it Shechem in Hebrew. Nablus, I think it's an Arab term. Are your brothers not pasturing in Shechem? Come, and I will send you to them. And he said to him, this is Joseph now talking to his father, Israel, Yisrael, or Jacob, Yaakov. He says to him, here I am. Here I am. It's more than saying, here I am. You're talking to me, here I am. In the English part, you'll see, the Hebrew, I'm sorry, you'll see that it says, hineni, hineni. It's a term, here I am, hineni. It's a term that I read somewhere. It's found 8 times in the Jewish Bible, 8 times hineni, here I am. And it's a contraction of 2 Hebrew words, hine ani, hine ani, hineni, which literally means here I am. Would somebody, let's say somebody's taking attendance in a class, the professor is taking attendance, and they yelled out, Adler? Now, would I say hineni? I guess I could. Would I say po, which is another word for here? Adler? Po, here. Hineni is another way of saying I am here. But hineni has a deeper connotation. It just doesn't mean I'm physically here, I'm present. Of all the other people, you can find me here I am. It also means to say, it's more than just here I am. It means to say hineni. Somebody calls on somebody and they say hineni, it means the following. I am ready and able. Hineni. I'm up to the task. Hineni. I am mentally and emotionally prepared for what you've got to say. Hineni. That's what it means. Rashi, the great commentator that I mentioned just a few moments ago, 950 years ago, French commentator, Rashi says that it denotes humility and readiness. So when somebody in the Jewish Bible says Hineni. And again, we find it 8 times. It means to say, I'm not just here, I am here in every way you need me. I am here, I'm ready, able, prepared, willing. That's what we mean by the word Hineni. There are some Jewish organizations called Hineni, which means we are here for you. We are here for you, for whatever Jewish needs you may have. We are here for that. Hineni. It's a very, very beautiful word. This is an ironic foreshadow because here Jacob is talking to his son Yosef or Joseph. He says, go and seek out your brothers in Shechem, otherwise known here as Nablus. And what does Yosef say? Hineni, here I am. What's the ironic foreshadow? Once Joseph leaves his father's presence, going to look for his brothers in Shechem, he won't see his son Joseph for another 20 plus years. And then we'll get back to the getting together of Joseph and his father Jacob, but they're going to be separated, out of touch, incommunicado for about a 20-year period. So what's the ironic foreshadow? Yosef says, Hineni, here I am. But in a flash, he won't be Hineni anymore. He won't be anywhere near his father for about a 20-year period. Let's take a look at the next word, my dear friends. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. Really, really appreciate it. I know everybody takes time from their busy schedule to be here and to contribute and to write messages in the chat box and to do all kinds of things and to ask questions. I'm really, really grateful. And I know all of us at 365 are grateful for all those that come and participate in our classes. Let's take a look at the fourth one. And it says there, Genesis 37:21. But Reuven, he's the oldest of the 12 sons, but Reuven heard, and he saved him from their hands. In other words, they were thinking to themselves, hey, let's kill this Joseph, who we hate at this point. He has made us very jealous. Oh, he's got the stars bowing to him. How do you like that in his dream? He's got sheaves of wheat, I guess, bowing to him. Oh, he's got dreams of grandeur. Everybody's bowing to Joseph. Let's kill this guy. That's how much they started hating him because of their jealousy towards him. And he wore that striped coat, which was a gift to the favorite from our father Jacob. So we're not crazy about Joseph. Let's kill him. Let's kill him. So Reuben says, let us not deal him a deadly blow. We don't have to kill him. Let's put him in an empty pit and let him suffer in the empty pit. He didn't want his brother Joseph to die at the hands of his brothers, but I guess he didn't want to let them know that he really loves him, and he's kind of like the odd man out on this. They want to kill him. He wants to save him. Let's put him in a pit, and let's see what happens. But what he says is, let us not deal him a deadly blow. In the Hebrew box, it says, lo nakenu, let us not deal with him a deadly blow, lo nakenu nafesh. Literally, it would mean, let us not deal a blow to his soul. The word nefesh, it means a soul, nefesh. Then you see I wrote the word nafesh. Nafesh is the way it's written in the Torah portion. The actual word is nefesh. Why is it written nafesh? It's grammatical rules. But it comes from the word nefesh, which means a soul. And interestingly enough, the next word I wrote is nofesh. It's a word I never heard until I came to Israel. Nofesh is another word for vacation. Nofesh. It's a soul reinvigorator. When you go on a vacation and you invigorate your soul, you get re-inspired, re-inspirited. It says about God after he finished the days of creation that he had a Sabbath, in order to show the world that we all need at least one day off a week as a Sabbath. And it says that God completed all the work that he had done, And he rested, and it says in Hebrew in the Torah, Vayinafash. And God reinvigorated himself by resting. He re-inspirited himself by resting. And that's the word nofesh. Nofesh is to reinvigorate yourself by going away for a little bit, a day, a few days, whatever it is, and you become re-energized. And it all comes from the word nefesh. Nefesh means the soul. Now, we are taught in Kabbalah, Kabbalistic literature in the Jewish tradition, we are taught that there are 5 parts of the soul. That which is in us, that which is godly, that which God breathed into every human being. And some say even animals have a godly soul. That's an interesting debate. They sure appear so, don't they? Dogs, cats, they sure look like they got something godly going on in them. In any case, so we're taught by Kabbalistic literature, Kabbalah, that there are 5 parts to the nefesh. There are 5 parts to the soul. They each have a name. Do I have them in front of me? I don't. Here's what I can tell you. One part of the 5-part soul always stays where the individual has been interred, where the individual has been buried or laid to rest. One part always stays there. So a lot of people say, gee, I'm going to a cemetery to visit whoever, loved one, and, underneath the ground, there's a coffin. In Israel, no coffins. It's just shrouds. What am I visiting? I'm visiting remains that are empty of any spiritual content. What am I really visiting? And the answer is, from the Kabbalah point of view, you are visiting a piece of the soul that is belonging to that individual. So again, the word is nefesh. Now, I have to just mention quickly, there is an organization here in Israel that seeks to bring Jewish people home back to Israel from all different parts of the world. They started about, 10 to 15 years ago when somebody from any part of the world, mostly English-speaking countries, mostly America, Canada, other English-speaking places, mostly, but not exclusively. When they want to come to live to Israel, they start an application with an organization called Nefesh B'Nefesh, a soul in a soul. In other words, they have every interest to want that the souls, Jewish souls around the world, come to the soul of the Jewish people, which is Israel. Nefesh B'Nefesh, a soul in a soul. There's other reasons why that organization was called Nefesh B'Nefesh, but again, it incorporates this idea of a soul. All Jewish souls to come home to the soul of the Jewish people, which is Eretz Yisrael, which is the land of Israel. Let's take a look at the 5th notation, Genesis 37, verses 34 through 35. And Jacob rent his garments. Rent means he ripped his clothing. Hearing that his son Joseph died, he was sent Joseph's cloak with animal blood on it and became convinced that some animal killed Joseph, ripped him apart to shreds and killed him. And now he thinks that his son Joseph has died. And Jacob rent his garments, and he put sackcloth on his loins, and he mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters arose to console him. But he refused to be consoled, for he said, because I will descend on account of my son as a mourner to the grave. And his father wept for him. He was inconsolable. So the English words, he mourned and he refused to be consoled. Let's take a look at the Hebrew part. The Hebrew for he mourned, vayit abel. Vayit abel. I wrote that out in English letters. He mourned, coming from the word avel. Avel in Hebrew is a mourner. An avel, somebody who lost a loved one from the immediate family, is officially called an avel, a mourner. And then the next word I had is lenachamo, lenachamo, which means to be consoled. An avel, a mourner, avel, is in a period of avelut, in a period of mourning. In the Jewish tradition, when somebody from the immediate family passes away, all of the other relatives in the immediate family are all officially avelim. They are mourners. And the stages of mourning are very interesting and very intricate. What happens during each stage? Basically, in a nutshell, Jewish people have a period of mourning that lasts for 7 days, which then stretches to a 30-day period, a third mark of the 30th day, which then stretches for parents. When we mourn parents, to an 11-month period, which then stretches for every immediate relative at the 1-year period. So we don't have time to get into all of that. You should just know. So vayit abel, avelut, mourning, and avel is a mourner. And then the word lenachamo, which means to console him. Then I wrote the words in English, nichum. Nichum is consolation. Nichum avelim. We try to go and console the mourners. We try to comfort the mourners. We go to their Shiva period, a 7-day period where they remain in their home. People visit them, people bring them food and console them. They have an opportunity for a 7-day period to kind of sequester themselves, let them be themselves, let them be emotional without having to worry. You know how often people, they start crying like when they're giving a speech or something, and then they become embarrassed. Not really sure why, but they do. Oh, I'm really sorry about this. I always say, why are you sorry? This is liquid you, You're feeling terrible. You're in mourning you're entitled to cry. In any case, so Jewish people sit at a period of mourning for 7 days. People come and visit, bring food, and all of that. And then I wanted you to know that from this word nachamo, to do nichum, to console, lenachem, are actual words of male and masculine first names. For example, in Hebrew, Menachem. You may have heard somebody called Menachem, which literally means a comforter, a consoler. Nachman is another way, it's another form. Nachum is another male name, all taken from the word lenachamo, lenachem, to console. For a woman, nachama, also coming from the exact same word, to console. So this is just a little bit of a window into Jewish mourning rituals and practices. There is 1,000 more things to say about it, but I just wanted to touch on the canvas these two words, avelut, to have mourning, and lenachamo, to console, lenachem, to console somebody at their time of grief. Dear friends, let's move right away to the very last notation, Genesis 39:12. Here is where Joseph has been hired by Potiphar, somebody who's Potiphar up the line in officialdom in Egypt. And Potiphar has a wife who is very enamored by Joseph. He's a good-looking guy, nice-looking fella, and she would like to get to know him better. And this is Genesis 39:12. They are together in the same house, I guess in the same room, and Mrs. Potiphar, so she grabbed him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." He's got a big decision to make. Does he, doesn't he? He's only human, but he's the son of the holy Jacob. What does he do? There's a lot to say about it. But he decides he is not going to get involved with her. He left his garment in her hand and fled and went outside. So it says the very first word in that very bottom box in the Hebrew, vatit pesehu. Kind of a complicated word. Vatit pesehu. It has as its root the tfs, tafas. Vatit pesehu, she grabbed him. Potiphar's wife grabs him by his garment. Not the ones that striped, because that's already with Jacob, causing him to mourn. He's wearing another garment, and she grabs him by the garment as if to pull him over to her, but he gets out of the garment and runs out. Vatit pesehu, and she grabbed. Litfos. Litfos is a modern Hebrew word, litfos, to grab. To grab. When you go into a train, you go into one of the buses, you go into the light rail here in Israel, it's a good idea, litfos, to grab the bar, so that when you're moving back and forth, you don't fall. Litfos, to grab. Tofes is a grabber. A tofes, to grab. But it also means to grab a seat somewhere. So let's say in a theater. Why don't you listen? Let me go park. You go inside. Litfos, go grab us a seat. Litfos, a seat on the bus, or litfos, a seat on the train. A tofes, again that TFS. A tofes is an attachment to some document. A tofes. And it's interesting here that Joseph, has these connections to garments being grabbed. For example, when the brothers had enough of his dreams and they're jealous of him and they don't like all his thoughts of being grand and over them, etc., they grab his coat of many colors and ultimately dip it in blood. And here is Potiphar's wife. Also, she's grabbing his cloak to keep Joseph with her, but he leaves it in her hand. So what is that all about? He's got these 2 episodes of people grabbing at his cloak, grabbing at his garment. I don't know. Maybe you can say something about that next week, or you can write to me, rabbiadlerinisrael@gmail.com. What is all this grabbing of the cloak? Was Joseph trying to grab power and authority by having dreams of sheaves and stars bowing to him? Is that what he was doing? Was he trying to grab attention? And because of that, his cloak is getting grabbed here and there? I don't know. But maybe you do know. Again, rabbiadlerinisrael@gmail.com. You may want to write something in the chat box and I'll get to hear about it. Dear friends, thank you again for joining me today. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, Hanukkah, the great festival of lights begins. Very exciting in the Jewish community. For those who celebrate it, those who commemorate it, Chanukah Sameach. Have a wonderful, joyous, light-filled Hanukkah. Enjoy the delicious treats of potato latkes and all kinds of filled donuts, all kinds of oily things. Anyway, enjoy, be happy, be healthy, stay healthy. And again, thank you for being here today. Really, really appreciate it, my friends. We'll see you next time here on I-365, Learning Hebrew through Genesis. Shalom, everybody. Bye-bye.